Hello everyone, welcome to Insight. This is your Psychology Hub. In this video lecture, we will be looking into the third chapter of class 11th NCRT, that is the basis of human behavior. Notice how they have written basis here. This indicates that there are more than one factors which are influencing the human behavior. Shall we look into it? What are we going to study? We will be uh, studying about the evolutionary perspective. We will briefly look into the biological and cultural roots, that is the biological and cultural factors which are contributing to our behavior. So as I said earlier, there are more than one factor. There is more than one factor. Then we will in depth look into the biological basis of behavior. We will study about neurons. We will study about the parts of brain. We will also study about the endocrine system. Very interesting. After studying the biological basis, we will study cultural basis as well. So we will study how enculturation, socialization and acculturation, they all together impact the human behavior, how they all influence the human behavior, right? Shall we start? So us human beings, the Homo sapiens, we are the most developed organisms among all creatures on this earth. We have the ability to walk upright, we have larger brain size, which is relative to our body weight, and also the proportion of specialized brain tissues, which makes us distinct from other species. Now, these features have evolved through millions of years and have enabled us to engage in various complex behaviors, right? So, our thoughts, such complex actions, scientists have tried to study them by studying the nervous system, particularly the brain. They have tried to discover the neural basis of thoughts. They have tried to discover the neural basis of feelings and actions, that is, our behavior. So, by understanding the biological aspects of human behavior, we will be able to appreciate how our brain, how our environment, and behavior interact to generate unique forms of behavior. Okay? So we will start with a general description of the evolutionary perspective, where we will look into the nervous system, the functions of nervous system, right? So let's start. So different people are there are different types of people, we all are unique. This uniqueness is due to an interaction between genetic and environmental factors. Okay, the genetic endowments and environmental demands. Now, there are a ton of species of organisms. We can see different species of crows, of monkeys, of snakes, of cats, but biologists believe that it hasn't always been like this. They believe that they have evolved into their present form. So, what is evolution? Evolution refers to gradual, orderly changes, biological changes. So, it is a process, okay? It is an orderly biological change that results in a species from their pre-existing forms. Pre-existing forms means what they were before they had to change in order for better survival chances. Okay, species from their pre-existing forms in response to their changing adaptational demands of their environment. Now, physiological as well as behavioral changes that occur due to the evolution process are very gradual. They are so slow that they become visible after hundreds of generations only. Okay. Now, one great example is of the green and red beetles that we have been studying all along. I'll explain it later on in the chapter, don't worry. Now, evolutionary process, it occurs through natural selection. Just read about Darwin, read about natural selection. So, natural selection is basically survival and reproduction of individuals due to differences in their phenotype. Phenotype, that is environment. So, this is where the green and red beetle example fits the best. So, what happened was that this is a very interesting story, okay? What happened was that red colored beetles were living on green leaves of bushes. Now, these beetles increased in number by sexual reproduction. Crows, being the predators, consumed the beetles and regulated their own population. During reproduction, few beetles developed green color instead of red color. Now, this variation in body color gives the green colored beetle an advantage, and over the years, the number of green beetles in the population will increase generation after generation. Now, this was to increase their survival rate, right? This is a great example of natural selection. Now, remember these next three important features of modern human beings. Modern, that is evolved. First is developed brain, which is also bigger in size. It gives us increased capacity for cognitive functions. What are these functions? Functions like memory, perception, attention, language, learning, problem solving, judgment, decision making, etc. Second is our ability to walk upright on our two legs, which is known as bipedalism. Okay, and the third one is a free hand with a workable opposing thumb. So it has evolved from a support element on the ground to a grasping structure in the trees, and eventually to an organ which is dedicated to grasping, picking things up, holding, basically manipulation. Right? Brain weight has also differed along the years. So usually the weight of brain is around 0.1 to 1% for other animals, but as humans, the weight of our brain is 2.35% of the total body weight, and our cerebrum is also more evolved than other parts of the brain. Cerebrum, just for revision's sake, is the largest part of the brain, and it is divided into two hemispheres. Okay, so this was a little introduction about the evolutionary perspective. Now, biological and cultural roots. Biological roots are the biological structures that we inherit from our parents. Okay, that we inherit from our parents or our ancestors, such as the genes. So, a lot of disorders can also be caused due to genetic factors, right? Many children can develop mental retardation and other abnormal symptoms due to transmission of a faulty gene from their parent or their first degree relatives. Along with this, we also share cultural systems. We also share cultures. We all have different cultures. It puts us through different experiences and gives us different opportunities, which also influence our behavior directly. So, we can say that our behavior is determined by both nature and nurture. Nature being the genetic factors, the biological factor, and nurture being the environmental, cultural, and social factors. Now, the topic of culture, as I've already told you, it has been covered in the later part of this unit in depth. We will first look into the biological basis of behavior and cover the topic of neurons first. So neurons are those tiny little powerhouses in your brain and body that keeps everything running. But don't worry, this isn't just a science class rerun. We will be going into not much details. We will make this a little fun because let's face it, you're going to think about your brain cells differently after this. So let's dive in. Let's start with the basics first. What is a neuron? Think of it like a tiny electrical messenger in your body. These neurons are specialized cells which are designed to transmit information. Okay, so they are designed to pass on information from one place to another all over our body. Without them, you wouldn't be able to think, you wouldn't be able to feel or even move. Pretty important, right? Now, I'll just quickly go and make a diagram of a neuron for you guys. Okay, so first up, we have got the cell body or soma. Right? So neurons have three main parts: the cell body, the dendrites, and the axon. We will be breaking these three parts down. So first we have the cell body, which is also known as soma. Okay, here. It is the main body of the nerve cell. It's like the neuron's headquarter. So inside the soma, you will find the nucleus. So this is soma. This is our nucleus, which controls all the neuron's activities. If the neuron were a student, the cell body would be the library. Okay, this would be the library, and the nucleus would be that one smart student who keeps everyone on the track for the project. Next are the dendrites. They look like tree branches, and their job is to receive information. So these are the dendrites. Their job is to receive information from other neurons. So neurons are connected like this. This is one neuron. Other neuron would be connected like this, and they will go on and on and on. So imagine you're at a party and everyone is gossiping. Well, the dendrites are like your ears, which are picking up all that sweet gossip, such as, he was talking about you. She got drunk last night and revealed all her secrets. So just like you hear those sweet gossips, the dendrites catch up on electrical signals from the neurons which are around you. Now that that's clear, we'll move on to the axon. This guy is the neuron's very own delivery driver. The axon sends information away from the cell body to other neurons, right? It can the information to other neurons, it can sell information to the muscles or glands. It's like ordering pizza, except this delivery comes in the form of electrical signals which are traveling super fast down the axon. But wait, the axon does not work alone. It is wrapped in a fatty layer which is called the myelin sheath. So this is that layer. This is the myelin sheath. Think of the myelin sheath as a turbo booster for the axon. It makes the signal travel faster, like strapping a jet engine to your bicycle. Okay, now you can see some gaps here, right? So these are the synapses. This is the gap between the end of one neuron and the start of another. Okay, so here, this gap, this is known as synapse. These are just the unmyelinated areas of the neuron. Okay, so it's like when you're trying to high five someone, but you're both just a little too far apart. So that gap, when a neuron has it, it is known as synapse. So instead of slapping hands, neurons use neurotransmitters. Okay, they use what? They use neurotransmitters to jump across the gap and pass the message along. So it's like they are throwing a high five, but from far apart, while throwing some juices. Now, here's the cool part. The message is electrical inside the neuron, but it becomes chemical when it jumps across the synapses. It is like converting an online order to a physical package. It starts as a code, but ends up as something you can hold. Okay, so to recap, neurons are the superstars of the nervous system, with dendrites picking up the information, picking up the signals, then the cell body processing it, cell body which is processing it, and the axon which is speeding it off to wherever it is needed. It is a non-stop messaging system in your brain and body. Cool, right? Now that you have properly understood what a neuron is, let's also look at some theory part, right? So first thing, the soma or the cell body, which is the main body of the nerve cell, it contains the nucleus as we just saw in the diagram, right? Now, dendrites are the branch-like specialized structures which receives the information, it receives the signals. Then we have the axon. The axon conducts the information along its length, which can be several feet in the spinal cord and less than a millimeter in the brain. Then we have the terminal point. Terminal point, that is the end of the axon, which I drew there, right? It is the end of the axon. Now, at the terminal point, the axon branches into small structures called the terminal buttons. These buttons have the capability for transmitting information to another neuron. Through the synapse, we have the dendrites of another neuron, and then the information goes on. Now, how is this information conducted from one place to another? So it is conducted in the nervous system through nerves. Simple. Now, nerves are just bundles of axons. So there are two types of nerves, mainly sensory nerves and motor nerves. As the name only suggests, that sensory nerves are responsible for carrying information from sense organs to the central nervous system. So if we can hear something, then the sense organ, our ear, is telling the brain. Okay, think of it like this. So from sense organs to the central nervous system, it is the work of sensory nerves or afferent nerves. And when the information is to be carried from brain to our sensory organs, then it is the responsibility of the efferent nerves, okay, also known as motor nerves. So a motor nerve conducts neural commands which directs, controls and regulates our movements and other responses as well. Now there is another type of nerves which is known as mixed nerves. So mixed nerves are nerves that contain both sensory and motor nerve fibers. So it performs the functions of both sensory and motor nerves. They transform the electrical impulses from central nervous system to the muscles of the body. But here also the sensory and motor fibers are separate only. Now let's look into what nerve impulse is. So whenever an information is traveling within the nervous system, we call it a nerve impulse. Information travels within the nervous system in the form of a nerve impulse. When the stimulus or the cause or energy, when that comes into contact with the receptors, electrical changes starts taking place. Okay, electrical changes starts in the nerve potential. Now, what is nerve potential? It is a sudden change in the electrical potential of the surface of the neuron. Nerve impulse is also known as action potential. It is basically a very brief change in the electrical potential across a neuron's membrane, which is caused by the movement of ions like sodium ions and potassium ions through channels in the neuron's membrane. Now, please do not get confused by these terms. These are very easy to understand once you just make a concept map in your mind. Okay? Now, when the stimulus is relatively weak, then the electrical changes are very small. They are so small that the nerve impulse is not generated only. And as a result, we do not feel that stimulus. While if the stimulus energy is relatively strong, then the electrical impulses generated from that stimulus will also be strong, right? Which are conducted towards the central nervous system. So the strength of the nerve impulse, however, does not depend on the strength of the stimulus that started the impulse, because the nerve fibers work according to the all or none principle. All or none principle, it means that they either respond completely or they do not respond at all. Very important. For example, imagine touching a hot stove. If the heat is strong enough to reach the threshold needed to trigger a nerve impulse in your skin receptors, then you will feel a sharp pain sensation, regardless of how much hotter the stove gets. However, if the heat is too weak to reach that threshold, you will not feel anything at all. So, this is the all or none principle. Hoping that is understood, let's move on to synapses. Now, we saw how a single neuron can carry a neural impulse up to a distance which is covered by the length of its axon, right? But what about the times when the nerve impulse is to be conducted to a distant part of the body? What then? Then a number of neurons. So these work in group. This is one neuron. There will be another neuron here with its dendrite somewhere here. The soma, the nucleus. So they work in chain, right? Now, in this whole process, one neuron can faithfully relay the information. It's like a relay race. They are passing on information, right? So they can faithfully relay the information to a neighboring neuron. The axon tip of a preceding neuron, this one, can make connections with the dendrites of another neuron. So this connection here, this is known as a synapse with dendrites of the other neurons. Now, a neuron is never physically connected with other neuron. Rather, there is a small gap. This gap is known as the synaptic cleft here. This is the gap. Okay. Now, these are the neurotransmitters. Since the neurons are not physically connected with each other, as I told you before, it is like giving a high five, but there is no touch, there is no connection. So for this, neurons throw out neurotransmitters. It is transmitted by a complex synaptic transmission process to another neuron. The conduction of neural impulse in the axon is electrochemical, while the nature of synaptic transmission is chemical. The chemical substances are known as the neurotransmitters. Nice. Having that cleared, next we have the structure of nervous system, the function of nervous system and the endocrine system, and how they are related to our behavior and experiences. So this was part 1 of the 3rd chapter. Let's meet in the second part of this chapter. How can you access the second part? Just write us a mail on insightme@gmail.com, and we will be providing you handmade notes of all the chapters of your class 11th NCERT psychology, as well as proper video lectures about the same. Thank you for watching the video till now. I hope you have understood all the concepts clearly. Bye bye. See you next time.